And now back to Around the Kit with Joe Gansas.
Guys, we are back, 646-787-8027. I see my first guest of the evening on the line, and I am pumped up for him. Going to play a cool track from him, then pick up the great Johnny Rabb.
Please wait. Your credit card is being processed. Please wait for your payment party ticket. Green receipt button for a receipt. Credit card is being processed. Please wait for your payment party ticket. Green receipt button for a receipt.
And now back to Around the Kit with Joe Gansas.
Guys, we are back, 646-787-8027. I apologize for that. My audio just conked out of me like that, but great stuff by Johnny Rabb. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to Around the Kit the great Johnny Rabb. Johnny, Joe Gansas, Around the Kit. What's up, brother?
Hey, Joe. How you doing, buddy? Can you hear me all right?
Yes, man. I apologize for that audio. Sometimes my audio freaks out, man. How you doing?
Don't worry. I'm doing good. I appreciate it. How are you, buddy?
I am great. We are pumped up for you, and been a fan for a while. Had a lot of friends of yours on the show. Always tell me, you got to get Johnny. Got to get Johnny. Well, we got him, and he's here. And welcome to the show, brother.
Oh, that's nice. I appreciate you understanding as everyone has busy schedules, it's been a little bit of a hectic day and hectic last couple weeks. So thank you, and big respect for the show. And that was funny to hear that track because oh, that's funny. That's just I'm noodling around there with that one. That was cool that you played that. That's funny.
Yeah, it's cool to have different different tastes in life, especially as a drummer. And I think you definitely personify that whole method of always being different and try to be original at times.
Oh, I appreciate that too. I definitely try to. I think there's a balance I'm excited about right now. I mean, there's some definite frustrations I have too. With as careers grow, but at least there is I look back, good career elements that have happened, and the idea of trying to innovate as like right out of college was kind of a goal of mine, and I guess like to let everyone know, like, just don't be afraid to experiment. I mean, even if it, you might not want to do it on a gig. If you're doing a wedding gig or rock gig, funk gig, you don't want to lose the job because you're overplaying or trying to get wacky. But there's definitely like the you time that you put into it as well. That's fun for clinics or fun for sharing with your other drum buddies and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely love to still create and be different. Try to.
Absolutely, brother. Let's go back a little bit. I like to go back to the beginning. You were born in the early 70s. I think it said you started playing at 3 years old. And what was going on in Fairfax, Virginia? You were born there, Johnny, but you grew up in California. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. My parents, I was adopted, and they're amazing folks, and so probably like right away was adopted and lived in Fairfax with my mom and dad. My brother, 4 years older than me, and then my dad, he worked for the Department of Justice at the time in Washington D.C., and shortly after that moved at age 4 to Sacramento, California, where he was relocated for his career and job again for Department of Justice out there in California, and the kid. At that time, that's that age where you're a sponge. There was no, at age 3, there was no drum beats necessarily or rock beat. Right. I didn't quite get that until I was about 8. You know what I mean? But it was a toy drum set, and I just would try to do more melodies than anything. I didn't know what I was doing, so there was no teaching. But they were cool enough to my parents to ask, what do you want? And they saw me at a Christmas parade, like freaking out when the drum line would go by, so they got a toy kit, and I don't think they realized how huge that was as a gift for me. So, because they're not musicians themselves, but throughout to all the way to now, they supported what I've done, and it's been pretty amazing. So that's where Fairfax started, and then moved to Sacramento all the way through high school.
So we're 8 years old, 1980. You really start getting into it. Was there a certain drummer back then? People tell me Ringo, Peter Criss, Buddy Rich. Who was the drummer for Johnny Rabb when you were getting going? You said, "Wow, that's the guy." Was it Neil Peart?
Yeah, it definitely was Neil for me because I had an older brother, so that meant that 4 years difference. That's like age 13 or 14, and I'm still sitting over at 8, 9. Right. And back then there was the mono tape recorders or playback recorders, and I remember we went camping or fishing or whatever. And one of the mornings, our family friend Eric goes, "Have you heard this drummer?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, he plays a YYZ Exit Stage Left solo. My first question at that time was, "Oh, is that all the guys in the band? Is that all the guys in the band playing that?"
Yeah.
Like, is that? No, that's one dude. So Neil was and still is. I've sat right behind him, but I still didn't have enough courage to meet him because I didn't want to bug him. But still my biggest influence. And then shortly after, it was a lot of pop, 80s drummers and just anyone you can imagine from that, and then old funk and then Steve Smith was honestly I was introduced to Steve Smith before I really even knew that he was also Journey, the original. So the original Journey stuff I thought was amazing, but I wasn't freaking out about that as much as I was freaking about him with early Vital Information, and
right.
So Steve is still my favorite now, and I've got to be, I'd say, close colleagues and friends with Steve, which I'm thankful for. But I just feel like I just love watching him play, and he never stops learning. And so, but yeah, Neil was the first though, for sure, as an inspiration.
Guys, we're talking to the great Johnny Rabb. Johnny, I talked to Steve Smith 2 days ago, and we are so close to locking down a date. Just pumped for that. Talk to me about learning from Michael Lawson.
Yeah. Mike Lawson, Michael, same thing. He's like honestly like a brother and a dad figure all in one for me. Because when the age range was pretty cool. Because when he did late 60s, all 70s touring and drumming, and was like, kind of the cool dude, like long hair, and like you look at his old promo stuff, got the total 70s logo, and he, he's got a nice vintage collection, like Rogers, Ludwig, everything, Leedy, everything you can imagine. So he's just really an influence on me. He's the one that would sit me down after. This took a while though. I started in 8th grade with him, 7th grade with him, and I was freaked out. I couldn't seem to like get the drum chair I wanted. And within a year, he had me like reading like crazy, and then all of a sudden he kind of did the under the wing thing where it went beyond the music store. He's like, asked my parents, can you come over on the weekend so we can show them some records? And he was the greatest dude ever. We went over there, and to this day we're still really, really, really close friends. And studying with him was everything from Carmine's, realistic rock to start at a young age, and then like Rick Latham's advanced funk studies, then Chapin's books, and then Chafee's books, and then he basically helped me get into Berkeley in the sense of be ready for it, and had me doing gigs, like his gigs early age, reading out of the real book and stuff at gigs downtown Sacramento. And as a kid, that doesn't, like now when I look back at those gigs, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but you don't go like, oh man, I'm playing this like real book standard gig at the top of a hotel. But back then you're like, dude, I'm doing this. I'm actually playing a gig that's paying a little money. Right. And so I was also the guy that he would know restaurant and bar owners. And so I'd go in there, away from the bar because you can't, got to be of age, but I was only like 16. And I'd hang in the back room and watch him play, and I'd sit in and then leave, so we'd get busted for, being there underage. So I almost had a mentor that was like already doing it pro, like he was 38, I was 18, or 16 or 17. So that's Mike Lawson. I mean, we still, literally, unfortunately, he quit drumming. He got a little, I don't blame him. He got a little burnt on the scene, and he's successful doing another career now, but he just actually, the reason I say that, he actually living willed his entire drum collection this year to me, which was like the nicest gesture. So I've got all the stuff for the studio you can imagine, Black Beauties and, his Leedy stuff. And I don't say that again like it's like, look at me. It's just such a nice gesture because, as you know, when you're in tracking or whatever you want sound, so he's letting me use what he's no longer using. So I thought that was he's just such a great human. So he helped me a lot.
Great stuff, guys. We're talking to the great Johnny Rabb. So you're a young man, 18 around there, 20. I'm not sure. We go from California. We go cross country to Berkeley in Boston. What was going on there, and were you ready for what Berkeley was going to do for you?
I was freaked out. I didn't realize that I had grown up pretty sheltered. I thought I, had experiences of traveling, and I did. But Boston was, even though we lived near San Francisco and Oakland and stuff, and we can, go in and out of there, but you're with the safety of your parents. And those of you that might be laughing right now going, what is this guy can't, he's afraid? I didn't know I was afraid until I got there. My mom, she took me on the plane, and she visited Berkeley. I didn't. She checked it out, the campus, because I was still in high school, so like there was really no time to. So to answer your question, I was really freaked out. Like I think you obviously with the East Coast and everything are used to the cabs, and I wasn't. Like just like
right.
Holy, you know what, man? These cabs are all over the place. People on messenger bikes. I'm like, what is going on? So I got, I guess what you call the whole homesickness and culture shock in Boston. But then about a month into that, about missing, the high school, your buddies, and all this stuff. Then it turned out to be amazing. Like, go to Harvard Square, hang out with your friends. You're practicing all the time, and that was the first freedom I felt of like. I remember an upper class person. This guy was like from like probably Brazil or something. He came and, oh, you ever heard of this Nanugo groove? And I'm like, yeah, a little bit. And he's like, well, check this out. And I kind of hadn't. And I remember it was the greatest feeling to have him show me something. He goes over to the other little, glass rehearsal, those little Wanger studio shed things, silent, soundproof. And I played till like 4 a.m. on this one groove. And I'm like, this is what's going to happen here. I'm going to like just absorb all this stuff. So Berkeley at the time, you got to remember, was there's no internet, there's no cell phones. There was still, you had a line, phone line for you and your dorm roommate. roommates, and then if you were lucky, you had somebody that had a VCR video cassette, for those of you that don't know, but you know what I mean, a tape player.
Right.
And then you would go watch you pay the $39.95 or whatever for Dennis Chambers video, and you'd be lucky to. In other words, it's just such a different time that I enjoyed. So we would. That's what Berkeley was constant trying to study and get better at drums and learn styles. So I enjoyed it definitely, and I went with a lot of people that I didn't end up now looking at their careers, and I'm like, that is so amazing how many people, in my opinion, came out of our class that are doing ridiculous things with their drumming now. It's awesome. Really cool stuff.
Great stuff. Now, you graduate in '94. When you graduated, did you finally say to yourself, wow, it was what I thought it was, or did you say to yourself, it was more than what I expected?
I try to keep it a kind of Cliff Notes version, but I was just talking to my wife about this. I wish I would have done more in hindsight, I guess. I did music education as one major and then performance as another major because my folks, and I'm sure you guys can get this, but they were worried about how are you going to make a living playing drum set? They weren't musicians. And so part of the reason was they're like, we want you to have something to do. So I did music education, which is like basically, being a band teacher. So I could, K through 12 is what I got my degree in. So I could teach high school and all that. And I got offered a job to teach K through 8 in Brookline, Mass. And I got to be honest, it was tough to turn down because the salary was like more than I'd ever even, heard of at that time. And so but I did turn it down because I wanted to do drums. The Berkeley experience was fantastic. But, I hate to say it, I think this is my opinion, I think any music school, if you just go to play at it or perform or get better, you're not going to come out of the school unless it's, there's a handful of folks that can do it, but that is, you move somewhere and you get some gig with some artists. It's just not connected that way. It did help me get my skills honed in to where my prerequisite is, like, if somebody's, how do you get a gig? It's like, first of all, know every style you can and know what you're doing. And then second of all, be nice and be able to get along with people. So it did prepare me for, to try to move to Nashville or LA or whatever. But the college thing was not what was going to get me some road gig, So I will say that they don't tell you how to manage a credit card at Berkeley. And I wish they did.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? So I thought it was awesome. My experience there was great. I laugh when I think about the fun but yet rivalries there were between all of us in there. Like, we're all friends, but Nate Morton was there, John Blackwell, John Roberts, Jeff Marino, Antonio Sanchez. The list kind of goes on of dudes that are now, you know what they're doing now. So it's like, it was a lot of fun. And you didn't know that. Abel Boris Jr. was probably the reason that I decided not to get homesick and go home, because I saw him play as a young dude, and I go, wait a second, that's a student here? You can play like that? And that's what kind of made me, him and John Roberts, to be honest, I was blown out of the water by those two dudes. So long-winded, but Berkeley was awesome. Berkeley was a lot of fun.
Great stuff. A couple of years later, we make the trip to Nashville. You moved to Nashville in '96, and I think within 6 months, you stopped playing with the great award-winning Tanya Tucker. Was that the vital point where Johnny Rabb said, guys, I'm here. I'm part of something special. I'm a drummer.
You know what? That was a bittersweet thing, and I was just talking to a buddy 2 days ago about this, that because he's actually going to work with Tanya now, and he was asking about that gig. I tell you what, my experience with her was amazing. Yes, when I got that gig, I thought, cool, maybe, because I worked at, to be honest, I worked bartending and serving at Red Lobster, great seafood restaurant. Anyway, so I worked there, and I didn't like it. I'm not trying to be rude. It's just it was, you're there to do music. I would wait on country artists, to be honest. I'd wait on lighting directors. I'd wait on, and I'm sitting there like going, oh my God, you're Alan Jackson's lighting guy. How can I get in? Oh look, John Anderson's eating here. Oh cool. And you can't go, can I get a gig? Because they're going, well, you're a waiter here. So quick story is that I would go from that job at about 11 p.m., then go downtown and basically, all those guys were there, too, by the way, the Countryside, so you can get this idea now, like me, Rich Redmond, Jim Riley. Obviously, Rich is with Jason Aldean for years now, and Jim's with Rascal Flatts, but we were all downtown playing those gigs, cover band gigs. There was the education right there. And I quite enjoyed it. And then, like, from those gigs, I got kind of seen by Tanya's band leader. And, I always tell the story is that Tanya, she'd go through drummers and players pretty quickly. I still love her to death. Great person, fun to work with her. Great show. A lot of segues. You got to be on your toes. So I did the show for about a month, subbing for someone. And I'm like, oh, man, this is kind of going great. Next thing I know, my still friend Brian, the band leader's like out in front of the bus. He's like, I think Tanya wants to try some other people out. And I had to, this is kind of advice that I would say that if you get let go from a gig or you don't know why, try to keep that attitude of, okay, that happened for a reason. Don't get pissed. Don't get upset. And it took a while. I was hurt by it because that meant I'm going back to Red Lobster again. And I did. Ironically, I waited on Tanya's mom at Red Lobster during that time. She's like, I thought you were playing with my daughter. And I'm like, no. And I had to be cool about it. Well, fast forward, she rehired me. So you never know.
Right.
It sounded like a let go, like kind of like, you're out of here, like a nice way of saying you're gone. But she really did try some other dudes out, and they're great players too. But then I went back in and did it for 4 years. So it was, you know what I mean? It worked out, and she's awesome. So that was a blast doing that one.
Great stuff. Why is Johnny Rabb so captivated by marching bands?
It's funny. I think because as that kid at age 3, still in Virginia, you could hear that, high school drum line coming. And just old marches, too. And I love what's going on now, but I love the actual ones that have the complete just groove. And it might even be simpler than nowadays, you know what I mean? Like just 5s and 9s and, flams and just like those groove marches, right? So here comes these guys. And when that power of the drums and the bass drums, when they go by, hits your chest, that's what happened to me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I still love sometimes, like, luckily I've because of my past stick company and stuff, I got to meet a lot of the marching greats now and the corps greats now. So even though I didn't march, I got to hang at the, lot rehearsals and warm-ups and go to WGI as like a vendor. So I fell in love with the chops, control, and then the power of what it feels like when you hear, either snare line, tenors, and then, when there's a bass drum line breakdown and it's sick, it's just kind of like, it's got blast that chest. I love it. So that's what happened to me with intriguing there, from a kid, I think.
Great stuff. We're talking to the great Johnny Rabb. He's been so nice, his busy schedule. Give me a little time. Johnny, all the drummers out there, whether they're seasoned veterans or young guys just starting, listening to Johnny Rabb right now, please tell them why it is perfectly fine to make mistakes as a drummer, because the mistakes will make us better.
Absolutely right. I think that, as I said before, if you don't make mistakes, you're not going to learn what to do, next. What I mean is, throw yourself into a gig. Some people ask me, let's just start here. If you're just beginning and you're practicing rudiments or like a rock beat, or maybe some like you're moving 16th notes around on your feet, all this stuff is like, in my opinion, vocabulary. We don't just begin to speak English out of the box. We have our parents, we have the culture of society training us. We don't even know it. We're living it, so we're hearing these words. You just start to use them. If you're around drumming, you start to read, you'll start to find that it is vocabulary, music vocabulary that creates musical sentences. And, all the great drummers that you can look at now, thanks to YouTube. Sometimes I have a catch-22 with YouTube. I love it. Sometimes I hate it. But nowadays you can get info all over, and you can try it. And I think that being open to make mistakes will allow drummers to explore and get better. Let's put it this way, like one of my weakest things, I think, would be if somebody said, why don't you try to go do what Derek Roddy's doing or Casey Grillo and like be in a metal band. My feet just aren't that happening. But what's so fun is go down and practice that and make the mistakes trying to learn it, get frustrated, So that's one side. Then the other side of like a non-practice thing is people ask me, well, man, what do I do? What do I, if I move to Nashville or if I move to or whatever? Like, what's a good gig? I'm like, barring the income, the cruise ship thing is going to give you a lot of styles. What I mean by that is I'm not ripping on the income. I'm just saying if you're at a younger age where you can go explore the world and be on a cruise ship, you're going to get experience playing calypso, jazz, Latin, rock, pop. So that's awesome. And then at the same time, a cover band. I think cover bands are the best education for somebody to get because you're imitating all these. You're basically doing 50 different artists probably a night or more. And that's just my whole thing is get in a cover band. If you don't know country, and that's the one thing I'll say about Nashville, and I am proud of this, and I think the guys too, me, Rich, and Jim at the time. I think North Texas those guys came from. I came from Berkeley. We all came from fusion, jazz, funk, rock. So as I got to Nashville, it was so cool to learn their vocabulary of a Nashville number system, being in Nashville. And it's not a joke. You, in my opinion, you can't just go move there and start just doing a gig if you just play drums. There's certain feels and stuff that, two beat, train beat, your country, shuffle, waltz, it's pretty fascinating learning that right on the gig. You know what I mean? Like just learning it down at Tootsie's and down at Bluegrass Inn and stuff. So I know I went a little off track, but I guess my biggest thing is learn styles you don't know. If you love metal and you're so into it, you're going to be a metal drummer. That's awesome. And your band's metal. Okay, cool. But also check out funk, jazz, etc. Just like I'm preaching about that. That's why I'm working on my left foot. And probably not going to be in a metal band, but I'm trying to get my technique together all around. So if I ever need it, I can pull that out. So that's my take on it a little bit there.
Great stuff. Johnny, I wanted to go back a little bit. I wanted to ask this before. Why was turning down the job as teacher in Driscoll School in Mass, why was that so tough for you to do?
And I don't know, because emotionally tough, to be totally honest. It's funny you kind of got there. That was good question. Because I was just graduating from what I thought was, because I went there an extra year to fulfill that music education degree, because you had to be a teacher in the system. So that last year was the fifth year, actually. I always make the joke about, I did college in 6 years. I'm a long-term student, but I did the extra year there to do the dual degree. So there was not much drum set playing then. And I met the teacher there, was so sweet, and she was retiring from Driscoll. And I couldn't believe it. She took me out to dinner and was like, hey, there's a waiting list of teachers that want to teach here, but I want you to take the job. Mm-hmm. So the emotions ran. Her name was Nelora Steele, and I sure hope I never got to keep in touch with her. That woman helped me out through personal stuff, through a lot. So wherever she is, the best to her. But I'll say that she offered me that job, and the salary was great. The kids were great. I had written some kids' books, so those were implemented into the program. The reason it was hard was to just right out of day one of graduating, I could have had a job. My dad thought it was nuts. But, you have to follow that dream of wait a second, I've never even tried to tour or to move to LA or Nashville. I, since high school, have dreamed of playing drum set for a living. And we all know how important teachers are, but I always thought it was something I had to do. So that was the toughest to tell her at that dinner, that I was so honored, but I had to turn down the position. So it was, I think, rough personally because she was so awesome. She was such a fabulous woman and teacher. And, to be offered something like that right out of school was such an honor and flattering. But I had to, so that was why it was so tough, because I had to make the choice of, quite honestly, turning down, I'm not going to lie, turning down probably, it wasn't some crazy amount of money, but it was, I'll put it this way, it wasn't that long ago that I was making that amount just playing drums. So, what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
So, anyhow, my dad thought it was a little bit nuts, but I think he got it. Gets it now. So, yep.
Well, I think everybody has it now about Johnny Rabb. He's been so nice to give us some time. Johnny, talk to me about a word that I don't think in life we take serious enough, and especially in music. Some people just lazy. Talk to me about the word preparation and how it involves you, and what is your main thought about that word, preparation?
Preparation is, I think, key. If you don't do it, then it's obvious, right? You're not going to be prepared to do whatever. I don't care if it's a serving job at Red Lobster to playing gigs. If I didn't know my drink mixes for the people, I wouldn't have been a good bartender at the time. Or so the point of it is, with preparation for me was even to this day, knowing the catalogs of who you're working with. If that's the case, if you have a solo competition coming up that is one you've got to read to try to get some honor band or something, you can't just wait to the day before and I'm going to sight read this thing. So preparation is key to to get ready for anything you're going to be confronted with. So, for example, with Collective Soul, I didn't wait. I'm very, very fortunate to work with these guys for the last 5 years, and when the opportunity came about, I didn't wait to see what we're going to play in the set. I bought all their I had some records, but I bought all of them like that day when I heard I was going to do the first tour. So I listened to catalog over and over and over and over, and obviously a lot of the tunes I knew, but some I did not. So, and it happens. I'll tell you what, I'm prepared all the time now. Ed will call out a tune from an earlier album that might not be one of the many hits, and I'll be able to just review it and be ready for that night. It's like there's no stress. So that preparation, I have an iPod that is just a Collective Soul iPod. You know what I mean? Like on the bus. So if anything is ever announced, we're going to do this, I'm like, what was that groove again? I just go back and do a quick thing. So, I just think if you're not ready, then what does that do? It stresses you out. I think avoid the stress, whether it's a test you got to take in a week in regular education, or whether it's a job interview. It's like, do the research, get ready. I always say the prerequisite is knowing more than you need to know. So if somebody asks it, you go, yeah, I got that. And that's happened quite a bit. You know what I mean? For me, last thing I'll say is there's a debate of you shouldn't have to read to be a good drummer. 100% true, everybody. I could not, but the debate I have with it is you can also then, there's drummers that don't read that are just, I idolize. But at the same time, the way I look at reading is if you see a big bookshelf of regular, books by authors, and they've got subjects from cooking to history, if you know how to read the English or whatever language you do in those books, you can then learn on your own. So I think reading has helped me to be able to then get to a point of self-teaching. I can go down and do Eddie Reeby's, Latin books, or, go back to Afro-Cuban studies, or go back to advanced funk, or do Garibaldi's book, because it's like reading sentences now. So if that makes sense. So that's, to me, the reading thing will also help you prepare as well. I can go on for hours, but anyway, that's enough of that.
Johnny, can somebody be a great drummer without great technique?
Yeah, that's absolutely, of course. And I don't want to name names, because then I think it sounds like I'm thinking that I'm the master of technique or have the idea to judge. But I'll just say some of my favorite players, are. Now let's just be clear. The technique, right, might just mean if you look at technique like Thomas Lang. To me, that's a technical friend and young man. Mike Mancini, ridiculous. Marco Miniman, ridiculous. Steve Smith, ridiculous. They can also groove. They can play musically. There's a lot of drummers that, when I say I still think it's great technique, because I think we try to imitate them. They might not be the person that's going to go win a DCI championship or something on snare, but that's not me either. But the groove drummers, I mean, you've got, they might be have chops for days, but the groove for days is unreal. We can all attest to that. Jabo, Tide, Zigaboo, I took a lesson from him in Oakland, and was tripping out about no matter what he played me in that lesson. I tried to play it back, and it was so stiff. He's like, no, try this. My point is, he had natural feel. It was just from him being so musical. So I want to be very careful, because that doesn't mean that I don't think they have good technique. It's not what
Right.
I'm saying. But I'm just trying to say the whole, like, you know, super studied schools. It's like, you know, everyone's got their styles, and we all have seen them. Like, how does that person do that? So I love all that. Love all of it.
Well, yeah, Johnny, and it gives me back to one guy that just personifies what a drummer is, but isn't all over the place, and that's Phil Rudd from AC/DC. He does his job, Johnny. He does what a drummer's supposed to do. Oh, he sucks. He can't do this. Bullshit.
No.
That's a drummer.
That's right.
That is a. If you put the word drummer in a dictionary, his name should be next to it. Do you agree?
And when it probably is close to that. That's what I was laughing. I'll tell you something that happened today in a minute. But Phil Rudd, this is no BS, that when I was in Sacramento, buddy across the street, Bob McIntyre, his parents bought him a drum set. It was a Ludwig, whatever the time was back then. Not some vintage thing, like a newer Ludwig 80s kit. They got it for him.
Right.
I'd hear him out the window, and if anyone that lives in suburbs or grew up in suburbs, you kind of know that thing of, like, you hear a drummer down the street, like, where is that drummer? I got to go find out. Maybe he'll let me play the drum. So I go to Bob's. We would crank, shook me all night long, and Back in Black, and play along with that, with the full old-school speaker. No headphones, speakers cranked to the 8 out of 10, playing along. And you felt, and it was that. That was my first actual play-along that I ever did, was Shook Me All Night Long. So Phil Rudd, you should see us guys out here, the whole band, how much we love AC/DC. That we're on the tour bus playing all AC/DC stuff. And so, I mean, yes, you nailed it when you said that he's an amazing drummer. And funny thing is, too, I think that the chop aspect gets, doesn't need to be so over the top, because on the way home, I was like, we're flying home today, and in front of me, and the Dean, the guitar player, were like, is that Don? I couldn't remember his name at first. We're like, Don Brewer. And sure enough, he was in front of us, in the seat in front of us on the plane, and I didn't bug him. I said, are you Don? He's like, yeah, I'm Don. I'm like, dude, I mean, that's a legend drummer right there.
Yeah, great.
And all. So anyway, God, there's a reason there's so many drummers that are amazing, because they all hopefully do something different. So I don't have that barometer of, like, I'll never say that person sucks. I will get a little bit on top of somebody or kind of grill somebody if they rip on somebody and they don't have their crap together.
Okay.
That's the only time I will lace into them. You know what I mean? So anyway,
you brought up before YouTube, and I love YouTube. I'm on there. I watched you this week. I researched. I love YouTube. But do you think YouTube, in a way, it's giving the younger generation of drummers almost like a false sense of achievement, in a way that, they see all these new breed of drummers, and these guys can play, but I think sometimes these new cats, as they call them, they lack some feel, even though they're going around a set 1,000 miles an hour. Yes, they got talent, but I think, Johnny, there's something lost there. It's almost like, after a while, and I'm going to say this, controlled noise, almost after a while.
Sure.
And then I go back to one guy, Steve Gadd, and I just think that sometimes these new generation of drummers don't get it.
First of all, I couldn't agree more. This is a topic I have to be very careful about, because I have a lot of opinions on it. I feel a little, I've even talked to some of my close drummer buddies, and there's a lot of jadedness that comes out of me about YouTube and about and even, I will be honest, some jealousy, to be totally straight. About some of these people with all the hits and the whatever. That's when I get a little dark, a little bit, and I say that because you mentioned the chops or the whatever. There's some people on there, I love, and that I think are doing a great job. The only thing I warn, listen if you want to or don't, because I'm not correct. Some of these people I'm like warning about, I won't mention names. Looks like they're doing better than me with, like, followers. Believe me, I keep telling myself, I want to put content up. I'm almost at the point of, like, I don't know if anyone would care. I want to have content. I'd love to have 1,000 true followers that were interested in seeing what I had to teach or something, but I'm so paranoid that there's too much stuff out there already. I'm like, no one's going to care. But to get back to other people, the one thing that's tough for me is to see contest winners or I don't want to I'm not pigeonholing them, but anybody that's like got a camera now, they'll put stuff on, and I think that the only part that I fear is that, and some of them are making careers out of it. So again, I'm being real kid gloves here, but just to be blunt, I worry about what's going to happen after their video production goes, or they're I don't know, like they just run out of stuff to do. It's like I'm blown away that there's this. I got a camera, and today I'm going to work on this 5-stroke roll around the kit, folks. Hi, I'm so and so. Let's do it. And then
yes.
But are they out? What are they gigging? And I'm not sure everyone, but what are they gigging? What is their? Do they have a real book? Are they in a quartet and then go to an R&B gig on the weekend? Are they playing in a wedding band? Are they teaching at a? That's awesome. So I guess my point is, I just hope that what I'm seeing is not all they're doing, like waking up and being all, this is so-and-so's channel. And then when somebody sees another channel, including myself, I could do that. I'm going to do my stuff now. And it's such a rabbit hole. And, lastly on this topic, I'll say that I still have a tough time with stuff because if you go to my YouTube channel, you barely see any videos of it. It's my own phone. But YouTube, like as I said, is a double-edged sword to me. I told a good guy, please don't post a video from this clinic because I'm planning on putting out at that time, a VHS tape or a DVD. Well, the person put it up. Next thing I know, there's a DVD version of this thing, like this whole topic and technique. And the sad thing is for me is I got to let that go because people look at me now and go, people think that other people have developed this thing online. Right. And I look like the guy coming in going like, that was mine. What the hell happened? And then like, I'm the jerk. You know what I mean? So like, I love YouTube, but it's like, I wish YouTube, if somebody watched a video of you, or even if it was posted by someone else, I wish like the Steve Smith video, say somebody's like, here's Steve Smith Journey live, and if somebody else posted it, there should be a royalty thing. I wish there was a royalty thing for Steve of like the views, or for Thomas Lang, or whatever. There should be, that would be smoking, or there should be YouTube Pro, and maybe there is, and I'm an idiot, you guys can tell me if there already is this, but where if on my channel I could go, hey guys, like $4.99 a month, my channel. Right. And I don't mean that like arrogantly, but like, sure, I would have to. I wish it was available for everyone, because then you would. And there's my point. The free content, I appreciate it, but oh my God, is it too much?
Well, Johnny,
I mean, it's so saturated. Yes. Anyway, okay.
You said it before about the guy with the camera doing the 3-minute video, and you were almost saying, is he educated? And I get it. I look at it this way. Take a baseball player, Johnny, a home run hitter. Oh, he's a great player. Wait. How he hits home runs? He's a great player. He can't throw. He can't bunt. He can't steal, and he can't catch. Oh no! He's a home run hitter. He's a great player. Right. You see what I'm saying, brother?
I do, and I think that if let's say that there was like everyone could in a room right now, we're all on the internet, you'd see me point you into some directions of videos where you go, so Johnny's not totally anti it, no, but I guess the answer is I don't know who's good or who's not. Sometimes it does drive. I don't know, and so like sometimes what I mean is I think I know, but if somebody's getting in there and learning something that might not be taught that great, or a feel is not really happening at all, they start copying that feel. That's what's tough for me, is just to the staff sometimes on some of the teaching sites are not all whipping it like totally. I mean, and I don't mean I can get in trouble for this, I know, but it's just, it drives me a little bananas. It does. Yeah.
Johnny Rabb, I can't tell you, brother, how this has been for me. This 45 minutes, just great
Thanks,
stuff. You're a gentleman, and all my guests were right. You had to get Johnny. You're a great guest, brother, and I can't thank you so much for coming on my show and just instilling some of your knowledge with me and my guests. Johnny, at the end of my interviews, brother, I ask my guests one question, and I think you're a man of honesty like myself. I need an honest answer. I ask all my guests this. Okay. Johnny, on a scale of 1 to 10, brother, rate this interview.
Amanda, 9 to 10, totally honestly, because, and if not a 10, that is great. I say that because I've done There are a lot of other cool podcasts and interviews, but it was really cool to hear some of the questions that you asked about, like sort of the teaching and the, doing the research of the names, and it's always interesting to me to do interviews because everyone's different. This is obviously rated up right up there with the ones I've done. So great, it's awesome. Love meeting you.
Johnny, thank you so much. You guys are back on tour soon, right, with Collective Soul?
I appreciate you asking. I want to self-plug, but just a quick 30-second thing. We hit next July 5th, coming up here for 2.5 months, U.S. tour with the Goo Goo Dolls. We will be all over the States, and so if you check collectivesoul.com or johnnyrabb.com, it's there. This is a little shameless plug. I am interested in, if anyone is interested in getting video packs of lessons and things like that, because I want to do that stuff, but I have no idea if anyone's interested. So it's kind of like when I'm at home, that's when I want to do that. I've got a lot to share, but I'm just trying to get, put the feelers out to see if anyone actually is interested, because the last thing I want to do is just try to shove people down people's throats. But if you're out on the road and you come out to the show, we got a good set. In fact, I'm at Ed's house right now. We're recording 2 tracks for the record tomorrow, and then we go home for a week, and then we leave for Spokane, Washington first for the Goo Goo's tour with Collective Soul. So, yeah, that's what's happening. But I mean, if I'm not gonna lie, I used to be really involved in the industry and the drum community. I feel like I've sort of, on accident, kind of like stepped out. And I am looking forward to anyone that's interested. I still do, want to offer lesson packs and things like that. But just give me some feedback, and you can hit Joe up or hit my Twitter, or I'll even say johnnyrabb@gmail. That's my email. I always answer emails. So yeah, keep in touch, everybody.
Johnny Rabb from Joe Gans's, everybody at Around the Kit, man. We thank you so much, and we will continue, brother, to follow you on your drumming journey in life. Thank you so much, brother.
Joe, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Really, really cool. Have a good one.
Thanks, brother.